Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, puan-puan dan tuan-tuan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Selamat datang ke sidang akhbar Tribunal Wanita Malaysia. Saya Shareena dan saya adalah pengacara pagi-pagi ini. Kami ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada puan-puan dan tuan-tuan kerana sudi meluangkan masa bersama kami pada pagi ini. Welcome everybody. Terlebih dahulu saya ingin menerangkan beberapa makluman teknikal. Firstly, this is our first event or organizing a hybrid event, a combination of in-person and online. So please bear with us if there are any technical glitches along the way. Kami sekarang disiarkan secara live di platform Zoom serta Facebook. Kami mengalu-alukan penonton sekalian yang terdiri daripada para media, aktivis wanita termasuklah ahli-ahli steering komiti Tribunal Wanita Malaysia serta penonton dari ruang am. Sidang akhbar ini akan diadakan secara dua bahasa, bahasa Inggeris dan bahasa Malaysia. Para penonton di Zoom boleh memilih bahasa yang sesuai. Di bahagian bawah skrin Zoom ini terdapat ikon translation. Para penonton mungkin telah lihat yang kita juga ada seorang juru bahasa isyarat. Welcome Haryanti. Yang keduanya, kita akan adakan sesi soal jawab atau Q&A di penghujung program ini. Sekiranya ada soalan, silalah typekan di chat box sekiranya di Zoom dan sekiranya di Facebook di ruang komen or the comment section. Tribunal Wanita Malaysia dijadualkan selama 4 hari antara 27 November dan 4 Disember. Jadi sudah tentu penonton sekalian tertanya-tanya, apakah Tribunal Wanita Malaysia ini? Bagaimana ia dikonsepsikan dan apakah objektifnya? Untuk memulakan sesi kita, saya menjemput Josiah yang merupakan convener Tribunal Wanita Malaysia untuk memberi penerangan seterusnya. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Sherry. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming to our press conference. We've been working on this Women's Tribunal since January. In January this year, in 2021, I approached the women's groups and came up with this idea of trying to mount a women's tribunal, organizing witnesses, women who are affected by discrimination. And so I asked the women's groups, I know we are going to do reports, we're going to monitor CEDAW, we're going to do press statements, but let's do something different. Let's dramatize the discrimination. So we came up with this idea of the Women's Tribunal, and the women's groups, particularly the Joint Action Group for Gender Equality, they were very excited about this. They not only supported the idea, they also gave us funds. 14 women's groups comprising JAD members and Plus and Gender Consultancy formed the steering committee immediately, and we got to work. So we've been working on this since January. It's only today that we are announcing it publicly. First, I want to mention the supporters by the way of giving us funds. It's not only the JAD group, but also APWLD, that is the Asian Pacific Land. The Asian Pacific Resource and Research Center for Women, that's ARROW, and the Canadian High Commission. Now, CEDAW was our starting point because we monitor CEDAW very carefully, a treaty, Women's International Treaty that the government of Malaysia has signed on to. But we decided not only to look at all the obligations and the recommendations that the government is supposed to deliver. We looked at other treaties, or rather we are looking at other treaties that the government of Malaysia has pledged to follow. So we are looking at the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the ILO conventions, that's the International Labour Organization conventions, even our pledges, the government has pledged under the Beijing Declaration and Platform, and even the Sustainable Development Goals. So we want to look at the whole gamut of women's rights, the kind of discrimination they are facing, whether it's civil, political, economic, social, and so on. Now, we know that the tribunal doesn't have the authority, have any legal authority, but the tribunal, being a women's tribunal, being a people's tribunal, is our attempt to speak truth to power. For almost 30 years, or even more, of course, I think way back in the 60s, women's groups have been advocating for women's rights in Malaysia. We have been using all kinds of tools, whether press statements, memorandums, even protests. But we are a long way from closing the gender gap. If we look at the 2021 Global Gender Gap Report published by the World Economic Forum, we rank 112 out of 156. Within ASEAN, we are at the bottom of the rung. We are 10 out of 10. And especially now with the COVID pandemic, inequalities are even more heightened, even more exacerbated. We know all over the world, and Malaysia is not excluded, domestic violence is on the rise, the care of the burden of housework, childcare, all of it falls on women. So what we want to do is to remind the government in a different way by holding this tribunal, because we do believe that we also have to take time off to reimagine justice. Reimagining justice is our driving force. But it's not only for the attention of the government. We really also want to get the attention of the public. We want the public to watch the tribunal, of course, it will be all online, because we believe that gender equality is everybody's business. When we seek wider public support, because we truly believe with public support, with public pushback, we will attempt to close the gender gap and ensure that the government delivers on the many promises and the many pledges that they have made on the national and the global level. Thank you.
Seterusnya, saya ingin menjemput para peserta sekalian untuk menonton pelancaran video rasmi yang telah diterbitkan oleh animator Melissa Victor. Video Tribunal Wanita Malaysia membayangkan semula keadilan, or the Women's Tribunal Malaysia Reimagining Justice. Silakan. Saya ingin memperkenalkan ahli-ahli jawatan kuasa pemandu Tribunal Wanita Malaysia, the Steering Committee of the Women's Tribunal, yang merupakan wakil kepada 14 organisasi wanita yang terlibat dalam usaha ini. I will introduce the organizations and the representatives. Please take to the screen and introduce yourselves. Just your name and a quick hello so as not to take up too much time, please. Let me introduce the first one, which is AWAM, or All Women's Action Society.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jenarun and I'm AWAM's representative. It's nice to meet everyone here. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
AWL, or the Association of Women Lawyers.
Good morning. My name is Santi. I'm the president of the Association of Women Lawyers. Welcome to the Women's Tribunal.
Empower.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alina from Empower. It's definitely a pleasure to be here.
Family Frontiers.
Ina, I'm from Family Frontiers and welcome everyone. Thank you.
Justice for Sisters. Do we have a representative from Justice? Let's move on then. If Justice for Sisters is not here right now, KRYSS Network. Shareena is not here. PSWS, or Persatuan Sahabat Wanita Malaysia. PWW, or Perak Women for Women.
Hi there, I'm Marianne, representing PWW from Perak, from Ipoh. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you, Mary. SAWO, or Sabah Women Action Resource Group.
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Amy. I'm representing SAWA. Nice to meet you all.
Sisters in Islam.
Hi, I'm Rosanna Isa and Azarina Abdul Aziz also here for Sisters in Islam.
Tenaga Nita.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Glorine. I am the Executive Director of the organization, and it's a true pleasure to see all of you. And thank you for inviting us.
WAO, or Women's Aid Organization.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Abhinaya. I'm the head of campaigns at WAO. Welcome to the Women's Tribunal.
WCC, or Women's Center for Change.
Good morning. I'm Karen Lai, the Program Director of WCC Penang. Welcome and thank you very much for your support.
And last but not least, we have Engender Consultancy.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Omna Srini Ong. I'm the founder of Engender, and what an exciting journey we've started. Thank you, and excited to be part of it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lisa, the Advocacy and Operations Manager at Engender. Excited to embark on this together.
Good morning, all. My name is Betty. I'm lead consultant for Engender Consultancy.
We would like to introduce the different aspects of the Women's Tribunal Malaysia. To talk about the program and flow, I would like to invite Wathshlah Naidu from the Women's Aid Organization, who is also the co-convener of the Women's Tribunal Malaysia. Wathshlah, the floor is yours.
As what Sherry mentioned, I'll be talking a little of sharing some information on the process and the program flow. Yeah? Of course, given the continuing and ongoing COVID-19 restrictions in Malaysia, first off, the Women's Tribunal Malaysia will be hosted virtually through video conferencing platform. We'll be using Zoom. Interpretation will be available in dual language, both English and Bahasa Malaysia. We would also be having Bahasa Isyarat Malaysia, or sign language interpretation. And this is, of course, to ensure accessibility for an inclusive audience. For those who wish to access interpretation, pre-registration is required if you plan to attend the tribunal via Zoom.
Of course, the link will subsequently be emailed to the participants who register. The tribunal is, of course, open to all members of the Malaysian general public. Everyone can view it live via Facebook. We'll be sharing all the links, so please always follow our website, social media platforms for updated information. As already mentioned earlier, in terms of the dates, the most important dates, of course, would be the 27th of November when we start. The first 2 days, 27th and 28th, will be the full tribunal day. My 29th would be an exciting day for a special event. My colleague Angela will share more exciting information, the event on the 29th. And the 4th will be the day where we wrap up the tribunal. To start with, on the first 2 days, on the 27th and the 28th, the judges will hear testimonies from approximately 15 to 20 witnesses of women who will be sharing their respective lived experiences over the course of both those days. The testimonies will be presented to cover broad areas or broad themes of very current issues, emerging issues, pertinent issues. And these broad themes are around first constitutional and legal framework, which will sort of locate the discussion within this theme. And then we will have a theme on economy, on health, education, political and public life, violence against women, family, gender identity, and climate crisis. Following the testimonies, we will have statements from women's human rights advocates. And these statements will be on the basis of the themes I had mentioned earlier. And the advocates will provide further context, they show us the pattern, the prevalence, and analysis on why women continue to face the specific forms of discrimination. They'll also help us identify the gaps in laws and policies, as well as how the state has failed in its interventions or failed to meet its international human rights commitment. Following the witness testimonies as well as the advocate statement, the judges then will have an opportunity to seek clarification or present questions to the witnesses and the advocates, or they are also able to share their comments. I do want to note here that this is not an adversarial process. It's going to be a space that is safe for all women who are going to be part of it. It's a space that would be encouraging constructive discussion and sharing. The judges then, following the 2 days of testimonies and statements, will have about slightly less than a week, about 4 to 5 days, then to deliberate and deliver their written findings and recommendations on the 4th of December. We would like to encourage broad participation, as what was mentioned by Ivy earlier, and the program will actually also include some of the following speakers. So invitations have been sent to a number of people. First of all, an invitation has been extended to Ms. Gladys Costa, who is the chair of the Committee on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the chair of CEDAW Committee, to deliver an opening statement. The chairperson of Suhakam, Suruhanjaya Hak Asasi Manusia, Kabahagyaan Tan Sri Othman Hashim, will also be delivering an opening statement. We have also invited the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development to provide their response and comment on the tribunal proceeding. We actually have a slot for the ministry on the 4th of December to give a concrete response, a commitment after they hear the witnesses and the judges' findings and recommendations. And this is why we say this is a constructive process, because you're not just hearing one side of the story, you also have another state would also have an opportunity to respond and to reaffirm, I hope, their commitment. We would also be inviting representatives from all the other line ministries foreign embassies residing in Malaysia will also be invited. Of course, we will have our fellow civil society, our partners and organizations, and other key stakeholders, not just from Malaysia, but also from the Asia Pacific region, invited to observe the tribunal. Finally, of course, the Malaysian media will be invited, and we hope to see a full presence of media. We really encourage and look forward to everyone's participation, because this is a crucial space for us. It's a really important moment in time as well. So on that note, I want to say, please do join us in November, and thank you.
Here about the selection of judges. We have with us Meera Samanther, who is also the tribunal's co-convener from the Association of Women Lawyers. Go ahead, Meera.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Women's Tribunal. And thank you, Sherry, for the introduction. I'll be sharing about the judges and how they were selected. A panel of judges will hear testimonies from women of different walks of life who have experienced diverse forms of discrimination, such as violence against women and inequality in marriage. The judges were selected by the steering committee based on the criteria of having knowledge and experience with women with human rights, understanding states' international obligations, and having a good grasp of grassroots issues. The judges represent an intergenerational, diverse group that are known in their respective fields of human rights. Now let's start with the youngest judge, Nadia Malyana. Nadia was born and bred in Sarawak. Her first serious foray into youth activism began with Small Changes Malaysia in 2016. She currently juggles her day job as a program associate at Undi 18 while advocating for higher political participation and representation for Malaysian women with the 111 initiative. Our next judge, for the past 35 years, Mary Shanti Dargah, has been involved in the promotion of women's rights to equality and non-discrimination through law and policy measures. In 1993, she founded the International Women's Rights Action Watch Asia Pacific, as we know it as ERO Asia Pacific, an international NGO based in Malaysia that monitors and facilitates the implementation of the UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, and as we all know it as CEDAW Group. Mary Shanti was elected as a member of the UN Committee on the CEDAW from 2005 to 2008. Globally, Shanti is considered the most influential advocate of CEDAW. Our third judge is Zaina Anwar. Zaina, who co-founded two groundbreaking women's groups that engage with Islam from a rights perspective to promote the rights of women living in Muslim contexts. She is a co-founder of Sisters in Islam in Malaysia, as we know it as SIS, and Musawa, the global movement for equality and justice in the Muslim family. She has received several awards, including the 2019 United Nations Malaysia Award for Advancing Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms, and was named by Newsweek and the Dirimu as one of the 150 women who shaped the world. As mentioned before, witnesses will present testimonies and advocates will then provide the legal, social, economic, and cultural context. Such contexts will highlight the state's international obligations and failure and/or omission to provide access and/or justice to the victims. The 3 judges will then deliberate for 5 days and provide written findings on the state's, that is the government's, performance and obligations under CEDAW and other international human rights standards, and will furthermore provide recommendations to the government to remedy, prevent, and address the violations raised by the witnesses. The judges will be supported by a team of 3 advisors and 5 lawyers. It is our hope that this process will provide an alternative form of justice and advocacy for women's human rights and gender equality. And most of all, create a space to amplify the voices of the diverse women as agents for change.
I now invite Grazele Jenarun, the Tribunal's presiding officer from the Sabah Women's Action Resource Group, SAWO, who will talk about the guiding principles of the Women's Tribunal. Grazele?
Thank you so much, Sherry. Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome. I will be sharing about the 2 core guiding principles of the Women's Tribunal, which are inclusivity and intersectionality. I will talk about the principles one by one. First, let's explore the principle of inclusivity. Inclusivity is a key component in eliminating discrimination to achieve gender equality and in promoting access to justice. We want to include all voices, all ages, all abilities or disabilities, and all citizenship status. The Women's Tribunal wants to ensure that the voices of our sisters all over Malaysia, whether in urban or rural settings, the Orang Asal women in Sabah and Sarawak, and our Orang Asli women are heard. Women who experience discrimination and oppression come from every segment of society. Often, the discrimination and oppression that they face are multidimensional in nature. This means the discrimination that they face has many layers or contributing factors. As part of our efforts to ensure inclusivity, we have consulted and worked with many different partner organizations as best as we can to amplify marginalized and unheard voices. Next, the Women's Tribunal also uses the principle of intersectionality as a framework in guiding the selection of issues. What is intersectionality? As I mentioned earlier, the discrimination and oppression that we face are multidimensional. The intersectionality framework helps us to see that all of the different aspects of discrimination and oppression that we face is actually connected. And in many situations, the overlaps of race, gender, class, sexual orientation, nationality, and physical ability can determine the degree of discrimination we can experience. By using the intersectional framework, we first acknowledge that everyone has their unique experiences of discrimination. And in order to eliminate all forms of discrimination in society and create an equal and just society for all, we must apply an intersectional analysis. Secondly, building on my first point, by using the intersectionality framework, we are able to identify the diverse factors that lead to gender inequalities and injustices. And then we can design intersectional responses, because as one size fits all has been proven to be ineffective. In conclusion, the Women's Tribunal is grounded by the feminist principles of inclusivity and intersectionality to remind us to not only listen, but to also involve all women and girls in all of their diversities. We want to give voice to women and girls to share their lived experiences and realities that many do not even realize exist. Among the marginalized, their voices are often neglected and forgotten. It is only by looking through the lenses of those affected and marginalized can we then understand the lines of discrimination that we may not notice otherwise. So all voices are important, all women's stories are important in order for us to plan for solutions. That is all from me. Thank you very much.
On the third day of the tribunal, we continue our feminist advocacy by staging the Kabahagyaan Dirimu Arts Festival. Can I invite Angela Kukatas from KRYSS Network to speak about the Arts Festival? Angela?
Ya, terima kasih Sherry. Hai semua, seperti yang diterangkan oleh Sherry, saya akan kongsikan serba sedikit tentang pesta kami dan tidak kurang penting adalah hamper yang penonton boleh menangi ya. Jadi usaha kami untuk memastikan akses kepada keadilan tidak akan lengkap tanpa meraihkan perempuan dari pelbagai aspek. Oleh itu, Tribunal Wanita akan menganjurkan Pesta Kabahagyaan Dirimu pada 29 hari bulan November tahun ini ya. Pesta ini mengingatkan kita bahawa kebahagiaan adalah satu aspek penting pembangunan negara yang ingin kita capai dengan menegakkan keadilan dan kesaksamaan. Kita jarang dan sebenarnya tidak pernah menganggap kebahagiaan sebagai kesan utama dari apa yang kita erti sebagai sebuah negara maju. Apa maknanya bagi penduduk di Malaysia kalau kita dapat menegakkan pemerintahan yang adil dan bersih? Jikalau kita dapat menegakkan pemerintahan yang adil dan bersih, apakah impak kepada kualiti kehidupan penduduk di Malaysia? Di peringkat antarabangsa, kebahagiaan merupakan indikator penting sebagai petanda kemajuan negara. Pada ketika ini, adakah pembangunan Malaysia membawa erti yang bermanfaat untuk penduduk negara kami? Ini adalah soalan-soalan yang penting yang patut kita tanyakan diri kita sendiri dan kalau ada peluang, wakil rakyat dan pemerintah kita. Ya. Di bawah pengarahan Seniwati Rupa Subramaniam, kami akan mempersembahkan bakat artis yang akan merayakan muzik, syair, seni visual dan tarian tempatan. Di antara artis yang akan menenangkan hati penonton ialah Bizu, Wani Ardi, Kristi Maximus, Syamila Ganesan, Lee Renzin, Maya Bayu, Jasmine King dan Santosh Logandran. Tambahan lagi, satu karya yang unik akan dihasilkan oleh pelukis Lisa Wong. Beliau akan mengambil inspirasi dari persembahan semua artis untuk membuat karya seni sepanjang 4x4 kaki. Karya ini akan dipamerkan secara eksklusif semasa pesta kami sahaja. Kami tidak akan menangkap atau menerbitkan gambar karya eksklusif tersebut. Jadi semua orang yang menyertai Pesta Kabahagyaan Dirimu akan menyaksikan penghasilan karya ini secara live, ya, secara hidup. Karya unik oleh Lisa Wong ini akan dijual untuk mengumpul dana untuk membantu kami meneruskan usaha kami dalam menegakkan keadilan dan kesaksamaan gender. Pesta Kabahagyaan Dirimu sesungguhnya telah diaturkan untuk menyerlahkan bakat seni dan teknologi digital perempuan dan lelaki yang yakin dengan kepentingan untuk menegakkan hak asasi wanita. Yang begitu yakin bahawa negara tidak dapat maju tanpa mengiktirafkan kesaksamaan perempuan sebagai manusia. Kami ingin menjemput anda semua untuk menyaksikan Tribunal Wanita dan menyertai dengan pesta seni kami. Kami telah menyediakan hamper eksklusif untuk penonton bertuah. Hamper ini mengandungi produk penjagaan badan yang ditaja oleh Body Shop, produk vegan premium dari Wicked Good, jurnal renungan diri yang diilustrasikan oleh artis Shareena dan koleksi stiker tempatan yang kami harap akan menggembirakan penerima bertuah kami. Petinya juga satu hasil karya yang unik yang dilukis oleh Shareena yang mengasaskan The Artsy Craftsy. Nilai hamper ini dianggarkan tidak kurang daripada RM1,000 ya. Pesta Kabahagyaan Dirimu akan bermula jam 8.30 malam pada 29 hari bulan November. So jadi jumpa di sana ya. Terima kasih.
Next, I would like to invite Pravind Premnath, our Communications Officer, to introduce you and walk you through our website. Pravind, please go ahead.
Thanks, Shareena, and to everyone joining us today. Thank you to all the speakers for sharing such important information, which I know may seem like a lot to keep up with, but worry not. All the information shared today is available on the official Women's Tribunal Malaysia website, which can be now accessed at womenstribunalmalaysia.com. So just please allow me to walk you through the website live. One short minute. All right. So on our website, you will find the official Women's Tribunal Malaysia video. Sorry, designed by Sean Ho and almost 6 months in the making, the website, which is available in Bahasa Malaysia and English, is a one-stop destination for everything and all the information you need about the Women's Tribunal Malaysia. Our website is now live, and on it you'll find the official Women's Tribunal Malaysia video, information about the tribunal's operational background and framework, a very exciting map of past women's tribunal held globally, the Women's Tribunal Malaysia primary objectives while answering questions of the what, why, when, and how, the international human rights standards to which Malaysia is committed to. Moving on, we also have the issues that will be presented and discussed during the tribunal, an overview of the judges and their profiles. Following that, we have the introduction of our very, very exciting arts festival, the Kabahagyaan Dirimu Arts Festival, and a guide on how to support women's rights advocacy, and an FAQ to answer all of your burning questions about the tribunal. And finally, we have our team, followed by the registration form. Our registration form is also available in both Bahasa Malaysia and English. So please scroll through our website today, and while you're there, do not forget to register. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts. Let me just share our handles to make it easy for everyone. Our social media accounts, we are at Women Tribunal MY, capital WT and MY, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So scroll away and we will see you online in November. Thank you so much. Back to you, Sherry.
Yes, we have one from Temina Kauji. What protection mechanisms is Women's Tribunal assuring the women who participate in public online tribunals to safeguard them from the global escalation in online GBV, doxing, etc. over the pandemic? We see survivors disbelieved, gaslit, and suffer character assassination daily when they dare speak their truths to power online, be it TikTok, Instagram, FB, or Twitter. Very important question. Ivy?
Okay, I'll answer that question. I'll ask that question. And others can also join in. Okay. Yes, we do anticipate that there might be unnecessary attacks against marginalized people or even young women for that matter. We're very young women to judge. The first thing we're doing is making sure that we have a support system. We have counselors ready in place. We have there will be people who will be giving them psychological counseling and moral support. Right. We also have a media strategy in place because at the end of the day, we do know, we will keep reiterating that we believe in any woman, in whatever all diverse women, it doesn't matter what her gender, her sexuality, sexual orientation, whether she's rural or urban, all women, whether she's young or old, all women have a right to participate in this tribunal, and that we have that on our side. We believe we have right on our side. What else should we? And every witness has gone through a risk mitigation exercise, not only with the counselor, but with also the lawyer, to ensure that every witness is prepared mentally for this. We are used to attacks. We've been doing this for 30, 40 years. When we first started out, even talking about something as simple as domestic violence, we were attacked. So we are used to attacks. That doesn't mean that we are immune to attacks, of course not. But I think the sisterhood, the network, the feminist movement, and the solidarity of the 14, 15, and all of civil society, including the CSO platform of 84 of civil society organizations, we have all of them backing us. And that is, I think, at the end of the day, the strength in numbers and solidarity will be the best defense.
Right. Thank you, Ivy.
Can I just add on? And also that some of the witnesses will share their testimonies anonymously, and some may have their faces blanked out for fear of repercussions. So I think that's also a strategy that we thought about the steering committee.
No one is forced to bear witness. It's really up to the witness to do testimony in a form that she is comfortable with, either live, anonymously, via audio recording. But more than anything else, the Women's Tribunal Steering Committee and all the JAG organizations and gender consultancy, they're all up there to give us support. We will be there fighting it off, issuing press statements, and doing whatever it takes to protect our women.
Right. Let's go to the next question. Thank you, Ivy. But let's go to the next question from Ming Teo. What is the action plan after the tribunal, i.e. when the written judgments for the case or testimonies are given?
In terms of the recommendations and findings, the judge's recommendations and findings, it will be sent to the various ministries, especially the Ministry of Women. It will be sent to all the MPs, Suhaka, and of course the media. And it will be, the recommendations will be uploaded on the Women's Tribunal website and also on the respective JAG's website. And we will also initiate, the JAG group will also initiate meetings with the respective ministries to present the recommendations. The recommendations, of course, will be used as a tool to advocate for change and also by the respective JAG organizations. And what is it that we want from this? The outcome is basically to hold the government accountable to its obligations and commitments that it has made nationally, regionally, and internationally. And we also hope that this whole process of the tribunal will aim to popularize human rights treaties, which may seem quite alien to many Malaysians, everyday Malaysians. And it's an opportunity to listen directly to the voices of women who've been violated, who've been discriminated. And also to understand that there are gaps in the laws and policies, that there are cultural and institutional barriers which prevent women from claiming their rights. But I know we said that the message is to hold the government accountable too, but it is also important for the private sector here, who will be listening into the tribunal here, during the tribunal, the private sector, to understand the lived realities of women, the kind of discrimination that they go through, and for there to be a change of corporate mindset, a change of corporate behavior, and that's what we hope for too.
Thanks. Thanks, Meera. The next question is from Rashvin. Truly honored to witness this tribunal happening. Thank you, Rashvin. Do we know of some of the larger outcomes achieved by the Global Women's Tribunals? How can we ensure we get the same traction here in Malaysia?
Okay. Thank you, Rashvin, for the question. It's a good question. First of all, we wanted to alert everybody that if you go to our website, we have a map of previous tribunals, starting from the Brussels Tribunal. Now, a very important tribunal that I have witnessed myself was the Tokyo Tribunals. This is the tribunal that was held in Japan on the military sexual slavery of Japanese army. What they did was when they went into, they took women from Korea, even from Malaysia, and they were basically sent to different camps wherever Japan occupied, wherever there was Japanese occupation, and they were used as they were sexual slaves. So when the tribunal was mounted in Japan, what happened was it forced the Japanese government. It was held in Tokyo itself. It forced the Japanese government to acknowledge there was sexual slavery, that the military at that time was exploiting women and they were very brutal to women. And it caused an apology. The tribunal judges did give a figure. They felt the recommendation was that the Japanese government must repay these women, must give them some compensation rather. Some of the women were still alive, they were in their 90s, but the government has not done so. But they have acknowledged that indeed there was this violation, utter human rights violation by the Japanese military. So we really do hope that our Malaysian government will also pay attention, because we are used to almost every other month we're talking about women's rights, and some of these violations that we're highlighting in November are violations and various forms of discrimination that we've been talking for a long time. For example, the sexual harassment bill. We've been discussing this for a very, very long time. And unfortunately, governments and even the public have very short memories. The tribunal must be seen as a way of jolting people's memories to remind people, wait a minute, there are still women here, hear their voices, because women are still suffering from these forms of discrimination, still suffering from violations.
Thank you all for joining us today. That concludes our program for today. Thank you to the speakers, the translators, the sign language specialists, the steering committee, and all the media, and all others who are present. I hope you leave us today with a burning interest to join us in November. I think it's clear how we as individuals and as organizations and as movements can contribute, whether to our family, to the community, or to the nation as a whole. Indeed, it is a very momentous event for the progress of women's empowerment in Malaysia. Bagi para wartawan, kita telah sediakan press statement yang akan dipanjangkan kepada semua selepas ini. Jangan lupa register untuk hadir ke Tribunal Wanita Malaysia. Registration boleh dilakukan melalui pautan di website, Instagram, Facebook atau Twitter. Handle-nya akan dipaparkan sekali lagi selepas ini di screen. Please follow us on social media for more updates as we head up to November. Sekian program kita buat pagi ini. Wassalamualaikum and we look forward to seeing you at the Women's Tribunal Malaysia. Thank you very much.